Hey folks, it's showtime. It's May 29th at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and I'm here talking about June 2023, the five biggest shifts to watch for in June. It's already June. Yeah, it's amazing. And so these five shifts, we're going to be looking at the Jupiter Rahu, which is exact conjunction here at the beginning of the month. Then Mars, I'm sorry, then we have the Sun is very much on the move, moving from Taurus into Gemini in the middle of the month. Mercury is really on the move as he's still in Aries, where he had gone retrograde. He's going to wind up being in Gemini by the end of the month. So Mercury is really on the move. Mars and Venus are conjunct also at the beginning of the month, and then by the end, they're almost exactly conjunct. And Saturn also turns retrograde. These are the five biggest shifts. But of course, we also have two lunations. We have the full moon happens in Scorpio early in the morning on June 4th. And then we have the new moon in Gemini on June 18th. So we've got quite a bit to talk about. So strap in for the show.
Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell on YouTube to get notified of new videos and live streams. Also, leave a comment, share it with others on Facebook, Twitter, or other social media platforms.
So, as I said, we are here going over these five biggest shifts. Now, you can see as we fill it in here a little bit that we'll start here with this Jupiter Rahu exact conjunction here at the beginning of June. That is sort of carrying over. They're in Aries, and so what this is really showing is this sort of new beginning with your teachings. Maybe new teachers come into your life. Maybe teachers that you've been studying with, you have some things, sort of come up with them and whatnot. But again, because Rahu brings in this kind of eccentric new thing, but Jupiter Rahu is also what's called a Guru Chandala yoga, which can interrupt our teachings, so to speak, where, Rahu is where we're, questioning and challenging. Many times we have more ideas about things and more smoke with Rahu than we have fire, so to speak. So you have to be careful with the Jupiter Rahu conjunction in Aries at the beginning here. And, even for a while, that you don't get all jacked up about, thinking that you know more than you do, and then arguing with your teachers or getting into these kind of battles, or, getting into sort of these willful power struggles. Rahu interrupts Jupiter because, again, Rahu is where we're just learning something, and Jupiter is where there's actual wisdom. So there are wisdom teachings all over the place, and the wisdom is always coming at you, but are you able to hear it? Or does it have to get through your smoky illusion of what you think you already know? So again, this is going to be pervasive for months, but it's like an exact conjunction at the beginning of June. So again, this is, these exact degrees matter once they line up this close. So we start June with that exact Rahu Jupiter conjunction. Now in the world, we can see it as it has to do with things like the legal system. We see a lot of high profile things happening in the courts. We can definitely see it like with our last president. And by the way, expect some major movement around some of these real, very dangerous lawsuits and legal problems that the last president has, particularly things like the documents case, the Georgia case. These things could really pop here very soon with this exact conjunction. So again, we start with that exact. And again, as I said, Mercury is on the move. And you see, if we go to the next slide here, this is June 1st. If we go to June 18th, Mercury is already in the middle of Taurus. If we go to the end, Mercury is in the middle of Gemini by the end of June. So again, Mercury is really on the move because he went retrograde. He was in Aries for about 3 months. You can see this very long stretch between Mercury and Venus. They're almost never this far apart. So Venus is at a very strong elongation, probably very close to maximum elongation. I haven't looked at this, but you can see Mercury is here at the end of of Aries, and Venus is already is actually in Cancer. They hardly ever get that far apart from each other. So when that happens, Mercury's about to start moving very fast. So this means that a lot of changes around ideas and a lot of things like that are happening this month. So there's a lot of fast ideas, quick ideas, a lot of, moving from Aries ideas, which are sort of perhaps combative and aggressive, to Taurus ideas by the middle of the month. And again, Taurus is more about family, about connection, about values. And then by the end of the month, we have Mercury in Gemini, where he's in his own sign, very skilled and intelligent. So a lot of changes with Mercury this month, from the Aries aggression, where Mercury has been for a couple months, to the Taurus stability and structure for a couple of weeks, because he's going to fly through Taurus very quickly, to landing in Gemini in his own sign by the middle end of the month. So again, that's very powerful. Also, when we get to June 18th, or I'm sorry, when we get to the middle of the month, we have the sun going into Gemini and shifting. Again, we'll talk about that in a bit, but the sun moves from Taurus into Gemini. This is a shift that happens every month. Around the middle of the month, the sun moves from one sidereal Rashi into another. So we'll feel that shift from the stable, sort of family-oriented quality of Taurus into the more intellect-based, communication-based qualities of Gemini around the middle of the month. We also have this Mars-Venus conjunction, like I said, and it's we have them both in the same sign. They're both in sidereal Cancer at the beginning of the month. And so, of course, Cancer is the sign of home, family, mother, nurturing, emotions, all of these things, which are very, very important to us, to living a life in connection with the heart, with that, deeper intuitive space. So we have Venus and Mars there starting. And of course, Mars is in his debilitated state here, where emotions are volatile and we're undisciplined and we're kind of like an emotional baby a little bit. So again, this is pervasive for the whole month. Mars is debilitated in Cancer. So again, be careful of sort of emotional self-sabotage and these kinds of things where you're battling over things that aren't worth battling over just because you get your feelings hurt, or let's say, you want someone to give you attention and love and comfort, and maybe they're too busy. So you lash out at them and get frustrated and angry at them, and by the way, it can happen virtually as well, where suddenly someone is sort of projecting onto you. They want you to do something and you don't want to, and then they get mad. And it's very easy to see people picking fights and getting their feelings hurt and lashing out now. So again, that's going to be a thing for the whole month, and particularly with Venus also there, high potential for these miscommunications, especially in relationships, of course, because Venus and Mars are the two relationship planets. In the context of Venus wants to make the good agreement, and Mars wants to establish individuality. They're sort of opposite in this regard, because Mars asserts our individuality and is willing to break connection in order to feel in integrity. And Venus wants to make the connection, and at times can slide on our principles in order to have connection. So again, very complex arrangement that's going to be going for months, because then Venus is going to go retrograde. Venus will pass Mars, then go retrograde. So this is a dance that's going to be going on for months, and it's starting in June. And then finally, Saturn turns retrograde on June 18th. And again, when Saturn turns retrograde, then those plans and those that forward momentum that we're looking to be committed to starts to sort of be called into question. And you can see Saturn isn't going to move hardly at all the whole month. He's actually stationary retrograde now at about 12, as you see, 1248 here of sidereal Aquarius. And then by the time we move forward even to June 18th, he's only 1301. So he's hardly moving at all. That's like exact. So Saturn is really stationed and stationary retrograde for June for the most part. So you can feel a kind of feeling like you're sort of stuck, particularly about what to do relative to service and culture and, showing up socially and whatnot. So that can be pretty intense as well. So again, this is the overview of these 5 biggest shifts. One of the big themes that is playing out now, and that's going to continue to play out, is this theme of like family connections, family values, connecting to the heart, and things like that. And this is why I'm also, offering a course on family Vedic astrology, because, we incarnate with all this karma relative to our families. And your deeply embedded programs revolve around the things that were put into you in your childhood that you didn't choose. All of a sudden you were in this unit, and your relationship with power, with feeling, with showing up, and self-assertion, compromise, all of those things really show up and were programmed and put into you, through those deep family connections. And in fact, you see, we also have the full moons and new moons. I forgot to mention that we have the full moon in Scorpio, June 4th, or actually I did mention it, but this is also very important at the beginning of the month. And again, Scorpio is where a lot of our deeper wounds show up, those hidden, buried frustrations and emotional frustrations where we didn't feel as nurtured and cared for. And so again, this also really starts June with this need to really understand our deeper family karma, and understand and unravel those things. So I am teaching a course on that, and it's available if you are interested.
I want to tell you about an upcoming course on Vedic astrology and family karma. All family roles will be dissected looking at planet signs, houses, nakshatras. It's June 10th and 11th, and I'm going to really be showing how this deep examination can help you unravel your history and family karmas. There's some great bonuses if you join now, and you can go to familyvedicastrology.com. More than 12 hours of classes, and a deeply discounted price right now.
And I've already taught the 2 bonus classes. The first one is on the karma of the planets. And again, so you can really understand your relationship to power is directly related to the sun, and you look to your father, the father or the fathering figure, to teach you and show you how to show up with consistent vision and purpose. Again, the moon, your connection to your heart and devotion and staying, patient and loving and not just triggered emotionally. You look to the mother to give you that, and your foundation comes from that. So again, understanding that is very powerful. And then I took those principles and did a case study of the royal family, which was really fascinating, because we can see, mother, son, brother, children. So check that out. It's a great way to understand the planets and your relationship with these forces through the soul family, or not soul family, but the literal family that you incarnated into. So again, to get back to this forecast though, June 1st, you can see this is where we're starting. Now by the middle, you can see what's happening. By the time we hit June 18th, Saturn has turned retrograde, right? And again, this is like a 5-month shift. So the Saturn retrograde is a long, pervasive shift where you're recalibrating your commitments, where you're committed to some type of social activity, some type of personal activity, people, work, all of that stuff. So right now is a time where you're recalibrating what you're committed to. And Saturn is retrograde close to half the time. So we're supposed to be very committed half the time, and then kind of reflecting and making sure we're on track the other half of the time. So again, this is a big shift and a big transition in June. So if you feel a little bit, again, we're feeling stuck, don't necessarily judge feeling stuck. Sometimes feeling stuck and waiting and hesitating is a sign of wisdom. Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing, is to wait and hesitate, rather than just do something. Again, there's this thing, don't just sit there, do something. I would contend that sometimes don't just do something, sit there is a better strategy, right? Much more Eastern Don't just do something, sit there, particularly if it's Saturn sitting there. Again, you can see now by June 18th, Mercury is in Taurus, right? In 18 days, he's gone, in 18 days, he's gone a full sign, right? So here he was at 22 degrees Aries. Now in just 18 days, he's like 18 degrees Taurus. He's gone almost a whole sign in a little more than 2 weeks. So that's when Mercury's moving very fast. And you see the sun has just gone into Gemini. And I picked this day because this is the day of the new moon in Gemini. Sun and moon come together here on June 18th. This is the beginning of the Gemini cycle. And when we initiate these cycles, again, these cycles are the real cosmic months of the year. Sun and moon come together, and then that's the month of Gemini and learning the Gemini lessons in that year. So relative to what your ascendant might be, like if you're, let's say you're a Capricorn ascendant, that's your ascendant, then this will be a 6th house cycle for you, where you're trying to learn the lessons of the 6th house when sun and moon come together in Gemini. Again, when the sun and moon came together in Taurus the month before, if you were Capricorn, then it was a 5th house cycle. And the 5th house leads to the 6th house. So the year is actually this evolutionary process, if you understand it correctly. If you don't, then it's still happening. You just don't know what's happening. So you can get insight into those things. By the way, I do daily forecasts where I talk about every day of the month using the Indian Panchanga, and also a focus on these lunation cycles when sun and moon come together. I also do those as well. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But again, this sun and moon coming together in Gemini on June 18th, very important, because now it's that cycle in 2023 where we're meant to be understanding things more clearly, using our discrimination, figuring things out, not just having blind faith, which is opposite Sagittarius, and not just the inherent values of our family. Remember, I've been saying family, 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 right? That's very much Taurus and the values of the family that we grow up in, but we don't just stay there. We then evolve beyond just the family and the family values into our own individual exploration and trying to understand things through our own unique intelligence. That's the Gemini cycle. So these things build on each other. Taurus becomes Gemini, Gemini becomes Cancer. Again, they evolve, and we're meant to evolve throughout the year with them. So again, this is very important. The sun, again, moves from Taurus into Gemini. By the time we hit the 18th, you see there's this new moon. It's in Mrigashira Nakshatra, which is the nakshatra of the deer head, curiosity, creativity, explanation. That's the explanation. I'll obviously be doing an entire new moon video and class on that, but it's very important to understand that new moon in Gemini will be a major facet of the cycle as well in June. But you can also see by the time we get in the middle of June, June 18th, Mars and Venus are getting much closer, only 5 degrees away. So again, you can see how they're coming together in this sign of Cancer. Again, these emotions. Mars is where we're trying to establish individuality. Venus is where we're saying, but I want connection, but I want sex and appreciation and beauty and blah, blah. So these two things are kind of opposite, but they're very much coming together. And you can see, again, the themes of family, emotion, connection. So again, that family Vedic Astrology class that I just showed you, very important to understanding these things. And again, by the way, the Jupiter Rahu in Aries, a great time to take a chance and learn some of these things rather than just mindlessly gather data. Learn a class formally. Learn from someone who's been teaching for 20 years, written a couple books, certified hundreds of students. Spend $50 and get 15 hours of training or something and really learn about this stuff correctly, right? So again, Rahu, Jupiter, and Aries is also good for taking a chance, trying something, and doing it. By the way, even with my classes, you're not even taking a chance because I guarantee that you'll like it or I give you back your money. But aside from that, this is why it's a great time to really understand all these family triggers and whatnot, because there's a lot of it going on right now. So as I said, though, this cycle of Sun in Gemini and this new moon cycle coming together, very important. And like I said, I also have a great, it's actually my member site where I do a daily forecast. And I also do special forecasts for the new moon and the full moons for each of the 12 signs, so that you can understand what this new moon in Gemini means for you and what the Scorpio full moon in June 4th means for you. Because again, like if you're a Leo person, that Scorpio full moon that's happening on June 4th is going to be in your 4th house. Again, if you're Virgo, it's your 3rd house. So these things are very important also to understand.
I get asked over and over again, what's the best place to start if I want to learn Vedic astrology? And by far, the best place, in my opinion, is to start with the Daily Astrology, Vedic Astrology Training Lab. Only 50 cents. You can get a 14-day trial and get daily forecasts every day based on the Indian system, what's called Panchanga, which shows the moon as it moves through the sky, through the different signs, the nakshatras, the tithis, which the full moon and new moon are just lunar tithis or lunar days, and then also the Vara, which is the Lord of the day. You can see this is an example here. And I write those forecasts. There's also a monthly calendar by my amazing student, Melissa Flores Davies, where you can track each day of the month with a monthly calendar and also a diary, an astro diary. It's a great addition. And you also get 8 hours of bonus classes when you join. And there's also other new things that I'm going to be offering here real soon, including a live call each month and other things. Again, it's only 50 cents right now. If you check it out, 50 cents for a 2-week trial, and then $39.95 a month, which is about $1 a day if you want to continue with it. Again, but right now you can just stay connected every day. Click the link there and, register now. And again, you will get a daily forecast. You will also get all the bonus classes. You'll also get a monthly diary and monthly calendar. So check that out.
Yeah, there are people that have been members of this for 5, 6, 8, 10 years. So it's the best way to stay. Again, people ask, what's the best way? Do you recommend something, the best way to start learning? That's the best way. Start watching the sky every day. So those forecasts every day based on the sign that the moon is in, the nakshatra, the tithi or the lunar phase, also the Vara, the Lord of the day, and aspects and things like that. So check that out. Only 50 cents to start. And then you can cancel within 2 weeks if you don't want to keep going. But anyway, so if we keep going, you see by the end of June, Sun and Mercury are now in Gemini. Remember, we started over here June 1st. Mercury was 22 Taurus. By the end, he's almost gone 2 full signs. That's how fast Mercury moves. Again, he spent like 3 months in Aries. Then he goes through almost 2 signs in 1 month. So now, again, Mercury in Gemini is very powerful. So by the end of the month, Mercury winds up going in Gemini. That'd be 18. Yeah, it's about the 23rd or so. By the 23rd, like the last week, Mercury has now gone, and now there's a lot of discrimination, intelligence operating, and it's where we're really going to want to figure things out, where our powers of discrimination and communication and all of those things are really functioning at the highest, you would say. Because again, that's really what Mercury is. It's where we're trying to understand how everything works, right? Not just don't tell me what to believe, okay? I have beliefs and I believe in the higher picture and I believe all of this. Okay, I believe it. But how does it work? That's what Mercury says. Okay, I believe it, but how does it work? Because anything that's worth believing in is going to be knowable. I can understand it. Then my belief is supported by intelligence, by my own rational understanding of it. And by the way, this is why you have a lot of religious hypocrisy and things, because people believe, but they don't know how it works. So what we fall back on are the things that we know work. So we might believe in religion, but then because we don't really know what's working, we're not really doing anything. So when push comes to shove, we don't fall back on the religion. We fall back on the thing that we know works, which is not the same thing. So this is the beauty of the Indian sciences, the Vedic sciences, astrology for sure, is I don't just say, believe all of this, watch it work. I can teach you how it works, and then you'll see how it works. Then it's not blind faith anymore. Then your understanding and your natural faith-inspired nature to understand that there's something bigger than you will then be infused with intelligence. So you understand how it works. It's not just understanding how it works. Once you understand how it works, then you are, say, in control, at least, of what you're in control of. This whole thing, like we have this idea now of hacking into, I'm going to hack into, hacking into the body, hacking into nutrition, hacking. This is the ultimate hacking. You're literally hacking into the sort of mysteries of reality, of the cosmos, not just believing it. If you just believe all of it, I believe it, and I'm so inspired. All right, that's fine. But in some ways, it doesn't change anything if you don't understand how it's working, why it's working, and not just that it's somehow happening and you're somehow a part of it. That's better than not thinking any of it, but it's not the highest. You can actually learn this and know it and not just flail around with a lot of misinformation. Because you believe stuff, then you gather information that's disconnected and thinking that it's taking you somewhere. It might be taking you off the path. That's also possible. And I'm saying all of this because, again, this is the Mercury and Gemini awareness and understanding. It's not always great to just believe all this stuff and then form a lot of wrong conclusions and ideas about it. Because then, again, maybe your beliefs are better, but beliefs are just beliefs. What's better is to believe and then learn how it works, if it's possible. So again, this is a big thing, especially, like I say, by the end of the month, Mercury, actually by the middle end of the month, Mercury moves into Gemini, and those things will be much more, relevant and important. But we also see Venus, Mars by the end of the month. Again, they're in Cancer, very close now. And you see Mars is about to go into Leo, but you see how the whole month Venus and Mars are just closing in. So again, the sign of Cancer, where we want to be nurtured, loved, protected, cared for, but it's also very emotional and volatile. Cancer is a volatile sign because it's the emotions. And those emotions are like, I want emotion. I want emotional connection. This is why when Mars is there, it's kind of like strangling someone, like, love me. I want, I want attention from you, or whatever it might be. And Mars is like fierce about it. And again, Venus is there trying to accommodate and trying to compromise. And by the way, Venus in Cancer is also quite complicated at times because Venus is about the agreement and Cancer is not. It's about the emotion and the feeling. They're different things. Because we want to feel something, we will make a bad agreement often because we want the emotional connection. So neither of these planets are doing very well here in Venus. But, the Venus, Mars in Cancer, both of them are a bit in detriment here, difficult. Now, again, by the time we get to July, Mars goes into Leo and it's a whole different ball game. Again, I'll be talking about that. But throughout June, this Venus, Mars in Cancer, it's this longing to connect, this kind of intense emotions around it, and then feeling frustrated and feeling unappreciated. This is often what happens with Venus. The pain of Venus is that we don't feel appreciated. We make that agreement, but then it wasn't appreciated. All I did for you, and you don't appreciate it. Right? And so when Venus has difficulty, like if it's joined difficult planets or other kinds of things in the chart, where we wind up feeling cheated based on the agreements that we make. We make an agreement and we feel like we've been taken advantage of, right? And so we don't make good agreements in that way. So learning how to make good agreements that we're comfortable with, where we feel respected, is a big thing. So it's a big issue, for the whole month. And again, also by the end of the month, we have Saturn is now fully retrograde, and we're now reflecting on what our deeper long-term commitments are. So June 2023, a lot going on. And I hope you've enjoyed these 5 biggest shifts. Again, the first ones to look for, we do have the full moon in coming up June 4th. As I'm recording this on May 29th, it's in Scorpio where the moon is debilitated. I'm going to be doing a full update on that full moon, but this is an overview for June 2023. And I hope you enjoyed this. Please share it, like it, give your thoughts and feedback on it. So thanks a lot.
For a limited time, I'm offering 10 hours of masterclasses, Yoga and Vedic Astrology, Quantum Vedic Astrology, and Spiritual Astrology Masterclass. These are 3 great courses that will really help you a lot. Now, in case you don't know who I am, I taught the AstroVed certification course, Dattatreya Shiva Baba, in 2010. Ravi Shankar published my book in 2018. I've been around for decades. I've been teaching these great classes, and if you go to VedicAstrologyEssentials.com, you can get this 90% off discount of these 3 great classes, more than 10 hours, guaranteed value. You can check this out. These 3 classes will give you all the necessary tools to begin to learn Vedic astrology. Please find me on YouTube at Sam Jeppy, Vedic Astrology Teacher. On there since 2007, thousands of hours of classes. Also on Facebook at Astrology Teacher, tons of articles updated regularly, and I'm on Instagram at Vedic Astrology 108, ongoing updates and interaction.